Okay, welcome everyone to the January 26th agenda preparation meeting, City of Latrobe. Wayne, you want to go over the long list?
Yes, a long list. The first is a resolution for the Carfax subdivision circa 1998. I know Ann's got more information, but apparently this was passed and the resolution was passed in 1998, but the documents were never signed.
No, I believe they were, but they were never recorded at the courthouse.
Okay.
So whoever took them after council and planning and zoning approved everything, never recorded them, and he can't find them, the owner, so he's asking
Typically,
for another
council,
approval, I guess.
we do not record. That's not our job. Once everything is passed and signed, the property owner has the Mylars. It's their job then to have it recorded. But the problem is, both the planning, municipality's planning code and our own ordinance says it must be recorded within 90 days of final approval. It doesn't say what happens if you don't, but it says that's when it has to be recorded.
So what's the remedy?
Well, the remedy is we're going to pass another resolution just like we did in 1998 approving the subdivision again, and we'll re-sign it on the Mylar, give it to the property owner, he'll take it up, and you'll have 90 days to record it.
And you can give this council the information on what we're voting on, even though it was a whole other council that voted on this before.
Right.
So I think we should have the information in front of us to see what we're going to vote on.
As I recall, and just by way of brief explanation, he has one property that has 3 houses on it. And he was separating the property such that one would have 1 house, the other one would have 2 houses, so that they could become marketable. Nobody wanted to buy a property that had 3 homes sitting there. And I'm reading that from the information that I received.
And where is this in the city?
It's up on Lincoln Avenue.
Lincoln, yeah.
802, 4, and 6. Bricker Avenue. There's 3 houses that look identical, but they have the same siding and everything. There's 2 in the front and 1 in the back. And he split the property in half to have 1 big house on this side and then 2 smaller ones on the other side.
Dave, you have something?
And what size of lots are going to be then?
Yeah, they were small. They were, oh, here I have it. That's why he needed a variance first, because he was creating non-conforming lots.
And he did receive a variance.
They were both going to end up 50 by 50.
Both lots will be 50 by 50. One will have 2 houses.
Right.
So we're getting 25.
Pardon?
The lot, I mean, the one with the 2 houses, really like the lots will be 25.
No, the lots, once they're split, will be 50 by 50 each.
We have 50 by 50, so it was 100 by 100 parcel, Rich.
Yes. No, they got a variance, and that goes with the land, so the variance is there regardless of what happens.
Is there any additional fees for us involved in this?
Well, it's not
The onus
something
should be on the property owner if there is.
Yeah, something we probably need to change anyhow when doing fee structure again. I think typically we have paid for the cost of recording the certificate of ordinance, I'll call it. It's basically the ordinance that defines the property, and that's recorded ultimately at the recorder of deeds. That then puts, well, no, but it's just strike what I just said. That's for vacation of the street. No, the costs are all his. He pays the recorder.
Okay. Next slide.
Next item is just the tree structure, which you all have seen for the advertisement for the electronic billboard. And then lastly, I've talked to Consolidation or Constellation, and we have an opportunity to lock in some lower electric rates. I looked at it right now, if we locked in our rates, we have a rate structure that's in, until June of this year. But if we lock in the rates now, which we can, even though we have till June, contract till June, just in that, what I looked at today was, we can save a lot, it's a ½ cent per kilowatt, which doesn't sound like a lot until you think of, that's gonna save the city about $6,000 a year.
In a year.
We do a 2-year contract, which is probably the longest it's, advisable. But the council has to approve it.
And that's what, who's the provider, Constellation or?
Well,
Keep?
Constellation's doing the work, but,
Keep that first name?
no, it's not First Energy that we have now. I forget who the bid. They're gonna go out and get more current bids anyway, but, I forget the electric company.
Yeah, because I think we did set up a contract to buy it at a different rate.
Yeah, you're getting the First Energy, and it's right now, that's.
June of 2015.
Right, we can actually save ½ cent off of that, because electric rates right now are down lower than people expect them to be. And the standard tariffs are going up, so this is a good opportunity to lock in. And like I said, even if you didn't count streetlights, you'd save about $6,000, so.
Is that like $6,000 a year, you're saying?
Right. It's a little over $6,000 that you can save with, it's a ½ cent per kilowatt, and we use 1.2 million kilowatts, so it works out about $6,000.
Have the employees been trained on the sign yet? You had mentioned it's 3
Yes,
o'clock.
yeah, they were trained, we received training about, I guess, last Friday, I believe.
Thank you.
Okay, anything else?
That's it.
I know there's some other pending stuff that you're working on with some,
Well, I can give you, as far as, we can, I'd like to talk to personnel committee for a minute before the meetings, I can, after the meeting, just real quick.
okay.
But, all these things we're working on, trying to save citizens money.
Okay. Anybody have anything?
I got a question.
Yes.
On that water company over there, why are they surveying that property again? The paper said that the city's surveying it to find out what they actually own.
Oh, you're talking about.
Over here at,
The nature's old platter.
Yeah, there's a,
Council Cove.
we're trying to finalize, there's a question of city ownership, where the city owns and where the city doesn't own.
How could there be a question? The property was just sold a few years ago. It should have been surveyed then.
Well, I guess-
You're taxing them now, so you got to tax them on what you assume that they own, or
well, I think there was some issues with that survey, but we're doing a survey it doesn't cost very much. It's
$500.
$500, yeah, the survey is rather inexpensive, but
Do you have
it'll
any input
give
on
us a
that?
definitive. Pardon?
Do you have any input on?
Another question is, they're surveying the water thing. I live up in the 300 block. Why are they surveying up my place?
I'm not sure.
Surveying what again?
Our property line's up on our place, and it's because of that water, the city requested a survey down there. And we're 3 blocks away from it. I mean,
Oh, okay, you're on River, but 3 blocks.
Yeah, I'm
further
at
down.
300
Yeah, I'm not sure how far that survey
There's,
is.
I wanted to do the whole street, but we're only doing a stretch. Because Gibson Thomas already did from Chambers to Unity years ago.
They did my
When we
place.
put parking.
I live past 300 block, which is past Linden.
Right.
No,
So-
that's a little bit beyond Chambers, so.
No, yeah, that's why.
And a
I'm
little
saying
bit
now
beyond
that
the property
we're gonna do
lines are-
From Unity to Linden, I don't know why you wouldn't go the whole way. But
Well, we had some specific issues.
that's where we have a problem right now.
Right,
so
we have
that's why
specific
we're-
issues in that area. Questions, I shouldn't say issues, we have specific questions in that area, so we're trying to solve them with a survey.
I just have a hard time figuring out why you got to resurvey something that should have been done already.
Because it wasn't
Usually
done.
don't they pin that stuff after you survey it?
I mean, I bought property in that there, and I had to have my place surveyed. You charge taxes to businesses. Do you just guess how much you charge?
Well, first of all, I wasn't here then.
Well, I mean, I'm not referring to you,
I
Wayne.
know. The reality is, I believe when we looked at the surveys, there wasn't a survey, there wasn't a clear path
I don't
on
know
that
if there was
survey.
ever a survey there or not, but our engineers are telling us that was never surveyed, so that's why we're having it done.
I don't know how it got missed.
So who advised you to get the survey, to have the survey?
Where's the officer?
Who recommend?
Well,
First or
I
something.
guess,
The question arose, if you recall, by a neighbor down there who was alleging that the property owner for Castle Products or Packing was parking their tractor trailers on the city right-of-way. And unfortunately, in the area where those trailers are, everything is paved. There's no street, grass, and parking lot. It's all paved to one. So the first question we were trying to find out is, was he in fact parking them on city right-of-way? Then from there, council has to decide what it wants to do further in terms of that issue raised by that particular property owner.
And from the previous sale of the property, there were no markings delineating that?
Nothing on the ground.
How was it a few months ago when that gentleman you're referring to wanted to park his vehicle on that city property? He just knew what he was talking about, that piece of grass between the paved lot and the last house on that block. Do you recall a handful of months ago?
Yeah, he wanted to do,
He wanted to park his vehicle, he said he'd cut the grass.
that piece is city property, right?
Right, well,
Yeah, that is.
I mean, if you know
The
that's
grass
it.
is. Well, no, but that's, you're talking about something that's in between two properties.
No,
We're talking about along the road.
it butts that piece of property you're talking about.
yeah.
Well, the survey that they're doing is going to come from the center line of the road over.
The concern so much isn't length from here to here. The concern is from the creek, say, to river. How much of that is Castle co-packing? How much of that is the street right-of-way? So that we know what's ours and we can use and regulate, and we know what's theirs and what we can't interfere with. That's why the survey is being done. Not end to end, but side to side.
I was just curious why they were surveying my property, that's all.
Well, I think the biggest question has been, there was a question, and there was people that are concerned, and rather than run the risk of litigation, let's see exactly who owns what.
I think you should find out why the property wasn't surveyed in the first place.
Well, I can't answer that.
Well, I mean,
Well, further down, I think at the time when Nature's was there weren't any real issues there. There was no reason to go further. Now that they're moving down a little bit further, the question is, do you want to go down and make sure you have a proper right-of-way the whole way to the end where it turns right?
You know, this might be a possibility that we can get some revenue from this area too, if they want to park their trailers there. Like, I think we have a contract or something with the oil lube job place,
Yeah.
and they pay us probably so much a month or whatever it is. Possibly we can make some revenue off of the parking their trucks there
And to do that, we have to define.
on
that
our
language.
property.
There's no definition of that. That's the reason we had to have it,
Yeah.
there was none. Mr. Forsythe.
Back to the surveying thing, surveyor has to find 7 points of interest. Being how it's along the creek bank, that might be why they're surveying at your property. To make it,
Sometimes you start a survey
7 points.
that's for a property down here,
Right.
starting with a point that's up here because that's,
exactly, 7 points of
Yeah.
interest for a survey.
I mean, I'm not
Which is
guessing.
maybe why they're at your point of surveying.
Not everybody has a marker. Then.
Right.
They got to go to a marker.
They gotta go to 7 points of interest.
You know?
I just wanted that, so maybe why you thought maybe that, why yours may be on one of the points, Beans House along the creek bank like that.
Yeah, that makes sense if they have to get to a
Yeah,
stage.
exactly, they have to go 7 points of interest to make an accurate survey of the property.
I took the initiative today to ask Don Clare. Don came in to come and introduce himself to us. He is the gentleman that the mayor nominated last month and was not part of the original cast of people that applied for the position. Then the position went dormant for a while. She decided to wait until after the first of the year because it was going to expire on the 15th of January. The term was going to expire anyhow. And Dawn was added. I took the liberty to ask Dawn to come in here since I didn't know him. I don't know if anyone else knows him, but asked Dawn to, the other people on that list had an opportunity to come and speak before council and tell us who they are, and what they're about. And I wanted Dawn to have the same opportunity so we can all know the information because
Thanks, Mike.
I thought it was best having this. So Dawn, come on.
Thanks a lot.
I heard there was a need for a board member at LMA, and as I just looked for ways to help out, I thought I could serve on that board and offer some value. I have a civil engineering degree, worked as an engineer for a couple of years. After serving as an engineer, went on to business school, and after that I was given an opportunity in managed care and healthcare. So I've spent the last 15 years working in managed care. Excuse me, I'm actually a little nervous talking to you. I apologize.
Where do you live, Mr. Clare?
I live on Fairmont Street.
Okay. Good street.
It's good, yeah, good neighbors, very good neighbors.
Thank you.
And so having been a former engineer, I saw an interest, and I was, in water systems, all this where I was trained. So I thought that my former experience there could prove useful. My business experience might prove value as well. And so, my wife and I, we both grew up here. She's a Reiner, in case any of you know Mark and Carol Reiner. Those are my in-laws, and we feel very fortunate to be able to raise our boys here in the town where we grew up. And as our boys get older, they're more independent. We have time to look to help, and we want to see this town thrive. And we know that folks have to step forward to help us do that. And so I think this might be my chance to do that. And so if you're looking for a city resident who has some engineering experience and a real desire to see this town be great, I think I can help, and I hope that I can help. So I've just asked for your consideration, and just let me know if this is the best way that I can do that.
There was a question whether the mayor had to appoint him. Are you going to be able to get around that?
No, the mayor has to.
The mayor did appoint him.
The mayor has to nominate.
Oh, the mayor did nominate him?
She nominated him.
Oh, okay.
Last month,
Good.
he was voted down.
Great.
Last month, so.
I mean, not great, but
But the only way the way the home rule charter is, and we've been through this time and time again, I guess that's one of the few powers that the mayor has, and is to have the nominating power to nominate people on boards. And it's up to a vote of council, which the mayor gets to vote in that, the appointment is determined by a vote of council, I guess.
So
But
subject to the approval of council.
But the nomination only comes from the mayor.
there's no way around on that there on the home rule charter.
Without changing the home rule charter, no.
In the past, Mr. Miller, there have been a couple instances, Mr. Kubicki and I think Mr. Markleck both, where eventually they ceded their power to council. In other words, they said, okay, I'll let you make a nomination, but that is purely the choice of the mayor.
And then the mayor could nominate everyone on a list, and then you would go through correct me if I'm wrong, you go through a series of votes, and whoever they got 4 votes, 4 votes, 4 votes, 3 votes. Okay, the person with 3 votes is out. Then we go through a round of voting again. I would imagine that's how that would work.
That could be a real drawback if you have a mayor that, and I don't think we do have a mayor that would be vindictive, but that could be a real problem in the future, possibly.
Well, I guess when I researched the reasons why that was part of the home rule charter, was made part of the home rule charter, was as a check and balance system. That way, a majority of council couldn't get someone in they wanted, and the mayor couldn't get couldn't line boards and authorities with, and so they get power to each side. That was the reasoning.
If you go
behind
back
the
and look at the
language.
powers of the mayor when we were a borough, they were much, much greater. The
Yes.
mayor ran the police department, basically,
Yes.
over the chief. But the point is, I think, as Mr. Sikora said, when the committee that put together the draft of the charter looked at things, they basically set it up as a strong city manager home rule charter, meaning the city manager does quite a bit. Council takes care of all the legislation and the policy issues. And that was an area, as Mr. Sikora said, that was basically reserved for the mayor, because the mayor had lost a lot of the powers that he or she had under the borough code. So that's why there's sort of a check and balance.
What happens if the mayor's incapacitated or something like that there? Does it fall on the assistant mayor then, or what?
Yes.
I would imagine, but I don't know that, or if the mayor becomes incapacitated, do you have to replace the mayor, or does the deputy mayor step in? I don't know.
Probably depends on the length of the incapacity.
Exactly.
Something short-term, deputy mayor would just be a transitional person to get the mayor back.
Why is there so much interest in that and not any other? How many other boards do we have openings for?
I don't know that.
What's that, Jerry?
Why is there so much interest in that one and we have all the other boards?
Well, I just say you had 6 people or 5 people that applied for it. And you had other boards and you put an advertisement about, people step up and do something. And then for her to say she researched and she went looking for people for us, for the water authority. You had other boards that don't have nobody on them.
Why do we have 6 people for the water authority?
We don't get 6
Nobody
people
for
for
the planning
zoning.
commission? No.
Yeah, and then you're saying, why don't we have 6 people apply for the zoning?
Yeah.
Or civil
I
service
know why,
commission?
because there's a perk
You get
on
perks,
the LMA.
and you get life insurance, and you get a vacation, and you get different
And,
things, and you don't get any of those things for any of these. So if these people that applied, I would think that they would be wanting to do these other things if they're so willing to volunteer. I think that sometimes that's a big front for, I'd like the perks from the LMA, just my opinion.
Yeah,
Or we would have 6 applicants for each of these.
for zoning board.
What health area do you work at? Do you work out at Excel Health, or UPMC, or?
I do not. So I work for a company called Magellan Health, and we're national companies. So I head up our corporate strategy team. And so I look at if we want to buy other health plans, if we want to start a health plan here in Pennsylvania or another state. So
We'll be looking at ours in June.
Yeah.
What's your title?
So my title is Vice President of Corporate Strategy and Business Development.
Vice President of Corporate Strategy.
Yeah. So as I look at my former engineering degree or experience and then the business, I really hope that I can mesh both of those to help.
And do you have an MBA?
I do. Yes.
Finish any questions?
Yeah, and I try to be brief, but if folks have other, know that I don't know everyone on the council, if there are ever any other questions, please just let me know. I want to be brief, but I also want to make sure that you're comfortable.
I just thought it would be good to have a name, no face.
Yep.
And thought to bring him here so everybody could see him, including me.
Thanks for having me.
Mr. Forrest, you had something?
Is
I don't
this
think so.
on, Joe?
No.
All right, I'll stand up here and say this. I would like a recommendation, or make a recommendation to this city council that, to request anybody to be on city positions or whatnot, not be nominated by the mayor, that any member of council could make a request for any individual to be on that board or authority or whatnot, and that it be voted on by the city council. And basically what I'm asking is, Jim, we would have to revise the home rule charter. Am I not right?
It would have to go on the referendum.
Have to go on a referendum.
We can't revise it unilaterally.
Right, I understand.
We can make-
As
we
being
can make
former-
a
former
recommendation.
councilman, I understand how
Yeah.
this works. But I always thought that was a piss poor way to do it.
And
It should be, whether Fabian, Julie, Chris, Mike, Jerry, Madeline, whoever had a request for somebody they thought was qualified for this position, they should be able to nominate them for it, not just the mayor. And I think this
I do agree
council
with you,
should
Mr.
look
Mayor.
at that situation. Y'all go back, talk to yourself and think about it.
I've talked to Jim about that. Basically, in a lot of ways, Jim's right, that there's a lot on that home rule charter should be looked at like that and put on the referendum and stuff like that. Do we want to put just this one on right now? We could do it, could we not, Jim?
You could do it.
We could vote on it tonight to have him.
No, you can't vote on it tonight.
We can vote on it second Monday of the month.
That's correct.
nice one.
But again, as I said to you earlier, Fabian, I would really recommend the council, don't piecemeal this thing. We've had 15 years now of dealing with the charter. There are some things that do need corrected, not just one item.
So you're saying to review all of it before we
Yeah,
just
we had
do
a
one or two?
commission that was put together, comprised of council and citizens, when we initially had the charter placed on the ballot. I'm not saying the form of how it should be done, but that's one way. We could have another commission, members of council, to say, okay, we've been with this charter now since 1998. What works? What doesn't work? What would we like to recommend to the citizens to adopt? And go from there, rather than saying, let's do this now and do something later.
You know, you said something interesting earlier that the mayor had the right to tell city council that they can nominate somebody.
If the mayor wants to give up her right under the charter, and his or her. And I've
But why don't
always
we
said
ask
they
why don't we ask the mayor to
There's nothing in
do
the
that
charter
then?
that says you can't voluntarily say, okay, I'm tired of making recommendations here, you make them.
Well, why don't we ask the mayor to do that then, so that anybody can nominate?
You can ask, but I'm just saying the mayor does not have to.
No, I understand that.
And that happened 2 or 3 times in the past, where the mayor did do that.
The mayor's used the last 2 times or 3 times, they finally gave in and said, okay, you know what I mean, I can see this is not gonna go nowhere, let's step it up.
And I think Mayor Marklack went almost a whole year on this.
Yeah, and I know Jim went
And
a
Jim
couple
was not
months.
quite that long.
Vince Lachetti went a couple months too.
Yeah, so it's like 3 times before.
How many months has it been now that we're trying to place somebody on a water authority?
July.
Since July.
Yeah, it's been one
Yeah, this
opening.
is what I'm saying. I mean,
Yeah, and I would like
I
meeting
seriously would like to know, seriously, and the mayor isn't here, but I was going to ask her, you know, I wasn't here, of course, everybody knows at the last meeting, but, you know, I understand things were said and stuff, but what does she have against the 4 that have applied already? There's a school teacher, there's, you know, there's people who are on the water authority who are not, don't even have a college degree. So what is the big deal now that we have to have somebody that's, you know?
You have to remember something, Alan, you're right, what you're saying is, you have to remember, you had one person that didn't graduate, you had 2 businessmen.
Right.
You had, well, 3 little businesses, men like
Right.
that. And we've had the cheapest rates of anybody in Westmoreland County and the less problems than anybody in Westmoreland County. So I had individuals come on, wanted me to explain why I voted it wrong against this, something like that. Or you guys might have promises, that was thrown on the floor too, you know what I mean? Just because you have a 4-year college education, that board out there approved. They knew what they were doing as a business person.
Well, I think that there's so many regulations and laws and that the government's placed on these different authorities. I think you need professionals on the boards of those, rather than just, I would not consider myself as eligible or capable of being on the Latrobe Water Authority. Because I know nothing about water. And I think it's important that that authority has knowledgeable people. At least, you know, if you've got maybe 3 people on the board that don't know, you know, maybe know a little bit, but you should have, if you've got an engineer that's qualified and wants to be on that board, you know, I think you should probably consider that pretty, you know,
Well,
quite a bit.
Don't misunderstand me.
No.
I'm saying that I don't want this young man appointed or anything like that. What I'm saying is, there's all the people out there, not one person had water authority experience that is out there now. I mean, they got it from learning, from going to their meetings and learning everything they could about the municipal authority.
And they're listening, their attorney that they've got is probably very knowledgeable. And they're listening, they're getting good counsel from their attorney, and that is probably the way a lot of them are voting in that there, you know?
Exactly.
But, I mean, if, you know, that's why I think it's so critical to get people on these boards. I know that sometimes that Ann, if we have a zoning hearing board and she can't get enough people, and, you know, you just can't put these things off, because after a period of so many days, if somebody applies to put a X-rated movie theater in, and you don't vote on it by a certain period of time, I mean, it's automatic they get it. I mean, there's a lot lot of issues there, that's why it's so critical to fill these positions in case certain people can't make it to that board. I mean, Ann probably called and probably begged people to make sure they get there. Yes, she does, yeah.
Now, at the Water Authority Board, I don't see us having that problem. You know what, you have a position open and you have 6 guys already want to be on. I don't think they've ever had a problem making people.
Well, unless board can't make it, then they can't even vote on something, you know? The authority, the board should be filled.
We need that one person, and that's what we're working on.
But I brought on.
Mr. Deputy Mayor, I still stand by my notion the council ought to look at the way the boards and authorities are appointed, that it does not have to be the mayor to make the appointee. Every member of council ought to have the right to appoint somebody that they feel is qualified.
Do you mean appoint or nominate?
Nominate,
There's a big
excuse me.
difference.
Not appoint, nominate.
They can't do it under the home rule charter, that's a problem.
Exactly, that's what I'm trying to get changed here, Jim.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
But, and again, if we're gonna be making changes and having time and money into making the changes, as Mr. Kelly suggests, and Fabian alluded to here, there's other areas that need change too, and maybe the way to do that is form a commission or a committee or what have you to analyze. I'm sure that's not the only fault with the home rule charter.
Great
So
job.
I think we should look at other places.
You know as well as I do.
It took that
Thank
committee, time and effort to
Yeah,
put it
and that-
together, and it's gonna
It
take.
doesn't happen in 2 months or 3 months. It's, it's probably a,
I'm not asking to
5
happen
to 6
today or
month venture,
tomorrow.
then get it on
Hey,
the-
something needs to be done in the future.
I wholeheartedly agree.
Thank you.
We've
Mike.
gone, let's see, 98, 2008, 17 years. 17 years since
Yeah,
that was implemented.
I'm sure there's some,
Within that time frame, we will re-examine our master plan and our zoning ordinance. Maybe it is time to examine the charter in some depth.
okay. Anything else? If not, let's go home in these nice streets of Latrobe. Thank you, Joe Wood.